Alright everyone, welcome back. So, it is that time again. It's a brand new month, which means the latest month has concluded, and it's time for our power rankings. So, it is February 2024. We're almost down to the home stretch here. The trade deadline's in a little less than a week. We have one more full month left in the season, and then about 2 weeks in April, and then it's playoff time. So, only 2 more of these before the end of the season, more or less. So, it's going to be interesting here. And we're at the stretch where we know where teams are going to be at, more or less. There are a few teams that are like, I don't really know. But most part, we know what teams are going to do at the trade deadline. And we know where they should be in the power ranking. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it here. Starting off at number 32, dropping 7 spots from last month, you have the Arizona Coyotes. I cannot justify having them higher than 32nd when they didn't win a single game in the month of February. They went 0-9-2 in February for a 23-31-5 record overall at the start of March. So I know we're like a few days into March. The Coyotes are playing right now. I have the game on TV. But obviously, those games don't count because they were in March. But yeah, Arizona, just a 14-game losing streak. I can't justify having them any higher than where they are right now. Hopefully, and the expectation is that next season or next month they will be higher. But just at 32, it seems right for them. And this is the first time of the Power Rankings history that the Blackhawks or the Sharks are not 32nd. So is interesting to see there. Number 31, rising up 1 spot from last month, is the Chicago Blackhawks. Should not surprise anyone there. The Blackhawks went 1-6-3 in the month of February for a 15-40-5 record overall at the start of March. So again, another team that are like Chicago. They shouldn't surprise you where they are. They aren't a team that, is a playoff team. Now, Bedard's still racking up points, which is good. There will be a video either today or tomorrow talking about Connor Bedard's rookie race. But it's good that Bedard's getting points. But apart from that, this team clearly isn't a playoff team. We still have about 6 weeks left in the season. Obviously, when you look at that, there's a lot of losing left for some of these teams. But in this month, we will see a lot of teams get eliminated from playoff contention. So there may be some other YouTube videos coming out on those teams very, very soon. Number 30, rising up 1 spot from last month, is the San Jose Sharks. The Sharks, again, another expected team. They went 1-6 in February for a 15-38-5 record overall. So I'll give credit where it's due. This team plays hard. This team works hard. They're a very solid team. Just, they don't have the skill level or the talent to win themselves games. And the defense isn't good enough. The offense isn't that great. The goaltending has got to be better. There's just things to work on here in San Jose. But this should hopefully be the worst of their run in this rebuild here. This should be the worst of it. And then next year, we'll start seeing things getting a lot better. I see a lot of positivity with this roster. And I think that in the trade deadline, which is in a few days, Greer is going to have a lot of options here to move certain players. So we could see a lot of assets get moved for the San Jose Sharks. Number 29, dropping 11 spots from last month, is the Montreal Canadiens. The Canadiens had a pretty brutal month this past season. They went 3-7-1 in the month of February for a 23-28-9 overall record. So, again, I will stick by what I said through a lot of their games this season. They look like a much better team than they have in previous years. They just still aren't there yet. And they moved Sean Monahan at the beginning of the month as well. And I expect for other guys to at least be, used in the market, or at least touch the market with some of these players and see what it looks like out there. Maybe he'll make a trade, maybe not. Not entirely too sure what Montreal wants to do, but if I'm them, I would 100% want to start making some trades and just get some more assets at this year's deadline. Number 28, rising up 1 spot from last month, is the Columbus Blue Jackets. So the Blue Jackets, they rise up 1 spot mainly because the Canadiens fell down. The Jackets went 3-6-0 in the month of February for a 19-30-10 record overall. So there are signs of improvement. Adam Fantilli getting injured obviously doesn't help this team. It actually really hurts this team when you think about it. But there are still some positive pieces to think about here. There are some solid guys like Veronkov's playing very well. A rookie that wasn't expected to be playing well is playing really well. I hope that, Columbus, they'll keep improving. I mean, they still are a ways away from getting to where they want to be. But still, it's just the little things that matter with the Columbus Blue Jackets right now. Number 27, rising up 3 spots from last month, is the Anaheim Ducks. So the Ducks, again, they're not the team we expected them to be, but they seem to be improving here towards the end of the season. They went 3-5-1 in February for a 21-35-3 record overall. It does look like Adam Henrique's going to be the one that gets traded. It looks like there's going to be other guys that get partnered with on the market too. There will be Gibson rumors because there's always been Gibson rumors. But regardless, I mean, Anaheim still not in a great spot. It looks like they're getting better, and I'm hoping that in the next month they will start improving more. But just obviously as of right now, the Ducks are not a playoff team. They're going to miss the playoffs. They really aren't close either. We're probably going to have to see another 1 to 2 more years of this before we start seeing them back in the playoffs. But hopefully we see more improvement with Anaheim because we have been seeing better seasons from them. But obviously, it hasn't been ideal. Number 26, rising up 2 spots from last month, we have the New York Islanders. The Islanders were much lower. They've gone up a little bit, but still a ways away. Now, the weird thing is they are still in the playoff race. They went 5-3-2 in the month of February for a 25-20-14 overall record. So they're still in it. However, just the overtime and playoff points, that's all that's gotten them to it. They don't have regulation wins. They aren't winning games. They look solid to start the month of March, a good one over the Bruins. But obviously, Boston's been struggling too. So there's a lot of things to think about there if you're the Islanders. But yeah, they are at number 26. Hopefully that changes in the next season. Number 25, you have the Ottawa Senators rising up 2 spots from last month. The Senators, they look okay. They look like they're improving. It just seems like it's too late. Yet again, at this point in the season, it looks like they're too far out of the playoffs to even make a push. They did go 5-4-1 in the month of February for a 25-29-3 record overall. That isn't bad by Ottawa standards. But again, you want to see improvement there if you are the Ottawa Senators, and we just haven't seen any drastic improvement. They still look like a team that's going to be down at the bottom of the league. Hopefully with management in the offseason, they make things better, but just obviously they're still in that slump. Number 24, dropping 1 spot from last month, we have the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres, again, just another team that it's going to be another year missing the playoffs, another year where they're not really in a playoff spot. They did go 6-5-0 in the month of February for a 28-28-4 record overall. Buffalo looks okay, but again, they're another team where they start off really bad and then they start improving towards the end of the year when it's too late. It's too late for this Sabres team to really make a push here necessarily, which is unfortunate because there are some solid names on this, but it looks like once again they're going to have another top 10 draft pick, which I guess isn't a bad thing, but it's been like 11 years in a row of that. So obviously that's not ideal. Number 23, dropping 10 spots from last month. I have the St. Louis Blues. The Blues, compared to what January was, they did not have a great month of February. They went only 4-5-1 for a 30-26-3 record overall. So again, they had a really good February, which kind of put them up in a pretty solid spot, which is above 500. But still, they are a ways away from, making a playoffs push. And you got to wonder, come the trade deadline, do they want to buy or sell depending on where they are coming into that Friday? So we'll obviously find out there. But St. Louis, kind of a mediocre month. They obviously didn't play a lot either compared to some of the other teams. So that plays a factor there too. Number 22, dropping 5 spots from last month, is the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's too late. It is. I watched last night's game against the Calgary Flames. Even though that's not included in this power rankings, it's too late. They're going to have to sell this year's trade deadline. It's unfortunate, but it's what the expectation is going to be. The Penguins went 5-5-1 in the month of February for a 27-22-8 record overall. Now, they don't have a bad record by any means. I mean, they don't have a bad record. They didn't have that bad of a month. It's just the thing is other teams are playing better, and Pittsburgh just they're losing too many games that they can afford. So it looks like they are going to sell. They are a ways behind. I say like teams like Philadelphia and Tampa and Detroit, they've all won enough games at the beginning of the season to put them a pretty sizable force ahead of the Islanders, the Devils, the Capitals, and of course the Penguins. So it obviously doesn't put the Penguins in a very good spot there, being, just and they're winning games they can. They don't have that bad of a record. It's just the fact that, they're losing too many games that they can afford, and they're going to really wish that some of those games they lost they would have won at the end of this season when they're watching the playoffs. Number 21, dropping 14 spots from last month. You have the Tampa Lightning. I know I might be dropping the Lightning a little bit too far down here, but this was a very underwhelming month. This team does not look like a powerhouse team right now. They straight up don't. They went 5-6-1 in February for a 32-24-6 record overall. Now, maybe the drop is a little bit too far on my part. I understand the fact that this is power rankings and maybe teams will drop pretty far down. But I don't want to have all of these teams dropping down really far every single month. Like, when we get into the top 10, there were plenty of teams that dropped or rose like 10 spots. I don't really like that. This is my first year of doing a monthly power rankings, so it is something that I'm going to need to improve on. But still, I think I still need to improve in some of the things here. But Tampa, they just don't look like what they used to. I've been watching this Lightning team since they won those back-to-back Stanley Cups. The channel started on those 2 back-to-back Stanley Cups from the Lightning. But just this season, they don't look like the original powerhouse team that we've seen in years before. And it's unfortunate, but just it's part of the regression. And unfortunately, if this team finishes at the second or first wildcard spot and they play the Rangers or the Panthers in the first round, I don't like their odds. I'm being serious. I don't like their odds whatsoever. So, yeah, the Lightning at 21. Number 20, dropping 4 spots from last month. And this is a team that confuses me because they look like on one night they can make the playoffs. They look like on another night, sell at the trade deadline. You have the Washington Capitals. The Capitals went 5-4-2 in February for a 27-22-9 record overall, which by any standard, it isn't that bad of a month. But when you're not that far behind. When you're far behind in the playoff push, you need to get as many points as you can get. And in Washington, you're coming up to the trade deadline where you just got to realize, yeah, I think we need to sell. I think we need to move the guys we can and try and get another high draft pick this coming season. Because down in Hershey, things look positive. Things look great for the Hershey Bears. They're first in the American Hockey League. As it goes for prospects, Ryan Leonard's tearing it up right now. Morosnichenko looks good. The Capitals have picked up some good names here. It's just a matter of, you get more younger players into your lineup. So I think it's better for the long term for the Capitals to sell, and maybe by the time Ovechkin is a few years down the road more, you could still push for a Stanley Cup with some of the guys you have. So definitely, Washington, I think they should sell. It's the smartest thing they can do. But yeah, they are 20th overall on the power rankings this month. Number 19, dropping 5 spots from last month. You have the Seattle Kraken. The Kraken, again, they look like they're going to be a positive team, but still, they're too far out and they should stand pat at the trade deadline. The Kraken went 5-3-1 in the month of February for a 26-22-11 overall record. The overtime loss points keep them in it, and they're winning enough games to where they can stay in the race. But I think Seattle should either sell or stand pat. They shouldn't try and buy in. They should try and stay where they are currently. Just right now, it doesn't look too ideal for them. They don't look like they can be in the playoff race. And I think this team in Coachella Valley, they look pretty solid. You got guys who are playing very well down there. Other younger players who people may not know are playing really solid for the AHL Firebirds. It's just a matter of, those guys coming up and Seattle trying to get some more assets down below. But obviously, going from a team that was in a playoff spot last year to a team that is kind of in the middle of the pack this year obviously isn't great for Seattle, but still, it kind of shows they maybe overachieved last year and maybe they aren't close to where they were, but obviously I think that a few more years of development and this team will be better again. Number 18, rising up 4 spots from last month. They're still not going to make the playoffs. It's the New Jersey Devils. The Devils went 6-5-1 in February for a 30-25-4 record overall. The Devils, again, just another team that just doesn't. Like last night against Anaheim, and I know it's not included in the standings, or 2 nights ago against Anaheim, they don't look like they can make playoffs. Like the Devils had 55 freaking shots against Anaheim, and the Ducks had like 23, and they still lost. It just tells me that they can't do it. They don't look like a team that can go all the way in the playoffs this year, and it's really frustrating because there are players on this team that look like, yeah, they should be in the playoffs, but just goaltending and defense has not been ideal for this team, and I would be shocked if I don't see Lindy Ruff get fired in the next month. I would not be shocked at all. If the Devils, by the end of March, are out of a playoff spot, which they very well could be, I'm not sure how the clinching scenario works. I don't think we'll see that for another week or two, but there will be teams, we're getting to that point where there will be teams that clinch and get eliminated, and time's running out for the Devils. So you need to make a move for a goalie or you need to sell at the deadline. You need to make a decision here. And I honestly do think it's too late for us to see Lindy Ruff get fired unless if they get eliminated and then they just go, yeah, let's get him out of here. But it looks like, from what I've seen, he's going to get fired after the season starts or after the season ends. So that's what I expect there from the Devils. But yeah, number 17. This team does not look like themselves, dropping 6 spots from last month. I have the Vegas Golden Knights. The Golden Knights, again, a team that have been they have a lot of injuries. Mark Stone's out of the lineup. Jack Eichel's out of the lineup. They need Eichel back badly. And I mean, I know the thing with LTIR money, they want to fluctuate that. I get that. But every team would do it. Let's say if the Flyers did it, which is my favorite team. If the Flyers decided to, I don't know, per se, move, let's say Couturier gets injured and they say they're going to use that money they have from Couturier on LTIR to make moves. I wouldn't be mad at that. That's a loophole that the CBA allows. I think maybe with a new CBA, they'll get rid of it, but still, just right now, it's the way the law goes, and I think that I give credit for the Knights for utilizing it. That's the bottom 16. It's been brutal for them, though. Hopefully, things do get better for Vegas, but into the top 16, there's a lot of solid teams here. Number 16, the Edmonton Oilers, dropping 14 spots. Now, a lot of that plays into factor with their 14-game winning streak. A lot of that plays into factor that teams like Minnesota, Calgary even, Nashville, all of them had very good months. Edmonton didn't have a bad month by any means, but after the winning streak, it was very subpar. They went 6-5-1 in February for a 35-20-2 record overall. Now, that isn't bad, and the Oilers will be higher next month because now they've passed Vegas. But the way I look at it, a lot of other teams had really good months, and the Oilers just looked subpar after the winning streak, and that's not unusual either. There have been plenty of instances where we've seen teams go on lengthy winning streaks, and then they start losing a little bit. It's not unusual, so that's why I didn't go too harsh on Edmonton for their record. But yet again, they're at 16th. They will be higher next month. Number 15, rising up 4 spots from last month, is the Calgary Flames. The Flames have won 5 straight. Recently. They look very good. And Calgary, even though they sell off Tanev, they sell off Lindholm, Hanifit's going to get moved, Markstrom might get moved. It doesn't look like he will anymore, but he might. They still look not that bad. The Flames went 7-3-0 in February for a 29-25-5 record overall. It's weird because I don't want to put them up that high, but they had a really good month. They had a really good month. So I'm liking the way that Calgary's playing right now. I don't think they're a playoff team by any means, but if they keep playing this way, I mean, hey, they could surprise us. I mean, that Western Conference playoff race looks kind of open right now, so obviously we'll find out there if that's what happens, but of course we'll see. Number 14, dropping 9 spots from last month. I think this is 9. I think this says 9. You have the Boston Bruins. The Bruins don't look like Boston right now. Boston went 4-3-5 in February for a 35-12-14 record overall. There will be a video coming out soon on the Boston Bruins, I believe sometime this week, because I am heavily concerned with the way this team's playing right now. I think a lot of it might be mental. I think a lot of it might just be issues with the defense and some other issues too. But overall, Boston, I think that they kind of peaked a little bit too early at the start of the season, and it's showing now that they aren't the team that we expected of them at the start of the season. They just aren't. And I think that even though they're second and they're above Toronto, Toronto's above them in the power rankings currently on my power rankings, not overall. But if Toronto keeps playing the way they're playing and the Bruins keep losing, there's a chance that Toronto could beat Boston in the first round, which if we said that a few years ago, people would have laughed at us. Being honest, people would have laughed at us. Number 13, rising 13 spots from last month. Yeah, the Minnesota Wild. The Wild had a great month. And then this week happened. And it just hasn't looked great for them recently. But the month overall for them was spectacular. The Wild went 7-3-1 in February for a 28-26-6 record overall. The Wild played spectacular. They did. The Wild had a really good month. I think that this team overall, just they could make the playoffs. It's still wide open in that Western Conference. I think LA and Nashville have the spots right now, which Nashville has not been announced that either is the Kings. But the Wild definitely are making a push there and making a pretty good case for themselves to say, yeah, we could be in this power rankings and could be in the playoffs this coming season. So we'll see. Number 12, dropping 6 spots from last month. You have the Colorado Avalanche. The Avalanche don't look like the Avalanche. They really don't. Colorado went 5-5-2 in February for a 37-19-5 record. Again, it's another thing that I think is mental with this roster. I think a team that is missing their captain too. Because for me, I feel like since they lost Landeskog in that 2022 offseason, they haven't looked the same. They haven't. Even during 22-23, they didn't look the same. And now in 2024, they just seem to be struggling a little bit. And when you're going through this, you miss your captain. Oh yeah, you miss your captain a lot. So hopefully the Avalanche turn this around. I think they can. McKinnon's playing at an unreal level. Rantanen is playing well. It's a matter of just mental things, I think. And I think there's some goalie issues there too that might be addressed potentially at the deadline. I think there might be a lot of traction this coming week. Players might get moved. It's going to be very interesting to see who exactly gets traded at this coming deadline, because I think there could be a lot of players that might be moved. Number 11, dropping 10 spots. So yes, they were number 1 last month, but they dropped to 11 outside the top 10. You have the Vancouver Canucks. The Canucks struggled a lot this month. This was not a fun month for Vancouver. They went 5-6-2 in February for a 38-17-7 overall. Now, it's an 82-game season. And I've said that for plenty of videos on the Flyers and, other teams like the Kings and teams that have struggled. It's an 82-game season. It's been a struggle for Vancouver this past month of February, but I think that it's something that they need to come over. It's going to show that adversity is going to be big for this Vancouver Canucks team down the stretch here and heading into the trade deadline and the playoffs. I think this team can win it. I think this team can be definitely, a top team and should be first in this Pacific Division by the end of it. But if they keep playing this way, maybe they could be an easy out in the playoffs. I mean, anything can happen in that 16-team playoff matchup. So definitely with Vancouver, hopefully things get better, but obviously it's still not ideal for this Canucks team with the way they're playing. Number 10, rising 10 spots from last month, you have the Philadelphia Flyers. Flyers had a very good month. Even though there were some struggles in there, they still had a pretty good month. They went 6-3-1 in February for a 31-22-7 record overall. So Philadelphia, another pretty solid month there. This month is going to be huge for them. I still think there's still a lot of things to be determined with this roster in regards to who exactly gets traded, who signs with the team, do they make the playoffs or do they not. There's a lot of things to think about here if you're the Philadelphia Flyers, which I get, absolutely. As a Flyers fan, I'm shocked at where they are, and I think it's been unexpected for Briere and Tortorella. And, obviously they want to stick to the plan, but then again, if they make the playoffs, wouldn't you want to go for a Stanley Cup? So obviously, those are things that I think about with Philadelphia, but they're number 10. I think they deserve to be number 10 in this ranking. Number 9, rising 15 spots from last month. That is the highest ranking we've seen this season. I have the Los Angeles Kings at 9. The Kings had a very good bounce back month from a very bad February, from a very bad January. The Kings went 7-4-0 for a 30-19-10 record overall. So they look like back to the Kings we've seen before, under Hiller, under a lot of the guys who seem to be playing better. I hope that things continue like this for the Kings, because I definitely think that they're a team that should be in the playoffs, should be a playoff team. It's a matter of, will they be top 10 or top 3 in that division? I don't know. I mean, Vegas is struggling. The Oilers looked good. Vancouver's kind of struggling a little bit too. That Pacific Division is kind of wide open. So we'll obviously find out there what happens. But the Kings, they still have a ways to go before they get up to Vegas in the overall standings. But overall, a very good month from them. Number 8, dropping 5 spots from last month. I have the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets, even though they're 8th, they still had a really good month. They went 7-4-0 in February for a 37-16-5 record overall. So they still look like a very good team. They will be a playoff team, absolutely. Monahan has come in and played very well, but there were some struggles at the beginning of the month that kind of put them a little bit away, but still, they're a really solid playoff team. I think next month they will be higher. Just the beginning of February, they kind of struggled a little bit, but hopefully things will get better there for the Winnipeg Jets. Number 7, rising 14 spots from last month. I have the Nashville Predators. The Predators, even though they're 7th, this might be a little bit too high for them. They're 7th, but they look like a playoff team. They look like they should be a playoff team. They have won, I think, 9 in a row. They look really good right now. They are currently 8-2-0 in the month of February for a 34-25-2 record overall. So they look great. They look like a really solid team. Guys like Ryan O'Reilly and Gustav Nyquist being signed for a combined amount, I think, of $7 million is insane. That is a really good move there in Nashville. Looking like a playoff team. And I think Saros is at the top of his game, even though there's rumors that he might get traded. He looks at the top of his game. We'll see if that continues. But, yeah, the Predators are 7th. I don't know if that might be a little bit too high on my rankings. I still got to figure this stuff out and get adjusted. But this is my first year of doing this. So just a little disclaimer. But still, Nashville at 7th. They look great. Number 6, rising up 4 spots from last month. I have the Dallas Stars. The Stars are another team that looks really good this season. They went 6-4-3 in February for a 36-17-9 record overall. There were points of inconsistency, but Dallas looks like a team that they're finally on track here a little bit. And I think that, they could, with Winnipeg not being Winnipeg lately, they look better than usual. But Winnipeg, losing a little bit of games there, and Colorado not looking like themselves, I think this first place spot in the Central Division is a win for Dallas. It is a win. And I think that if they do get first, they play the Kings, I think. I think that's how the standings are currently. They will play the Kings in the first round. So, obviously, we'll see if that is obviously what happens. But I'd be very interested to see a Kings versus Stars series. That'd be pretty, definitely a sight to see for sure. Number 5, rising up 4 spots from last month. I have the Red Wings. The Red Wings look like a playoff team. They absolutely look like a playoff team right now. I think in the current, racing for the Eastern Conference playoff spots, the Red Wings, even though they're in the second wild card, they look like they can be a playoff team. Now, even though they're playing a team that is absolutely insane in the first round if that ends up happening, I think that they could give them a run for their money for sure. The Red Wings went 7-3-0 in February for a 33-21-6 record overall. They went very well this season. They have done very well. Even with the month of December, them struggling, they look great. So I am very happy to see how the Red Wings are playing. I really enjoy Detroit. They're one of my favorite teams to watch this season. And I'm hoping that continues. I really do. I really enjoy Detroit. There were questions of, will they sell or stand pat? I think they stand pat. I don't think they would want to buy. I don't think Yzerman's that dumb to stray away from this plan they have. Even though I wasn't expecting playoffs this year. I don't think a lot of people were. But regardless, Detroit still in a good spot right now. Number 4, rising up 8 spots from last month. They had a really good bounce back month from a pretty mediocre February. I have the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs went 9-3-0 in the month of February for a 34-17-8 record overall. So, the Leafs, again, in another really good spot. They had a really good month. They won, I believe, 5 or 6 in a row. Austin Matthews at the 50 goal mark. We're going to see some more things about Matthews this coming season, or this coming month, because there is a pretty solid chance that if he keeps playing the way he's playing, he will get 70 goals. So, we'll obviously see if Matthews getting that will happen. But I made a video, I believe, at the beginning of the season. Can Matthews hit 70 goals? And it looking like that prediction is going to become a reality. So we'll obviously find out there if that is what happened. But yeah, the Maple Leafs at 4 in a really good spot right now. Number 3, Rising up one spot from last month, I have the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes, again, another really solid team. They went 8-3-1 in February for a 36-18-6 record overall. For a team that I think actually played the most amount of games in the month of February, they looked really good. This team, again, playing as a team, they're fun to watch. You got offense producing from all angles. You have the goaltending that seems to have ironed itself out here a little bit. I think that they may look at getting a goalie, but Kochetkov looks like a really solid player recently, so hopefully that continues. But obviously, we'll find out if that is what ends up happening. But yeah, Carolina, number 3, I don't think there's any more to say. They look like a really good team right now. Number 2 and number 1 are really spread out from each other, from all the other teams. They both are playing at a much higher level. Number 2, rising 6 spots from last month, I have the Florida Panthers. The Panthers, you could argue, should be 1, and I think if they keep playing the way they are, they will be 1 at the end of March. Florida, they went 9-2-0 in February for a 40-16-4 record overall. So they look awesome. They look spectacular. This is a team that I heavily doubted at the beginning of the season, and I was dead wrong about them. Dead wrong. And they look great on all cylinders. Bobrovsky looks good. Tkachuk, Reinhart, Bennett, they're all playing well. Barkov. There's not one player on this team right now I'd say is playing bad. So, obviously, with Florida, I don't think they have a whole lot of cap space, nor a whole lot of assets to move. But we'll see if Florida, if come trade deadline time, they make a move. They could. We'll obviously find out there if there is a move they make, but they look pretty good right now. We'll see if that continues. And then finally at number 1, they're back, rising 14 spots from last month. I have the New York Rangers back at number 1. The Rangers went 10-1 in February for a 40-17-3 record overall. So they had a very good month. They won 10 straight games. And then they obviously lost to Columbus and then won again. So they look like they're in a good spot. A guy like Matt Rempe playing really well for them right now, fighting a lot, getting a lot of, just a lot of physicality out there. He looks like a rookie who is making a name for himself out there. You got guys like Panarin playing really well. Shesterkin's playing well. Zibanejad's notably been a guy that's struggling, but still, the team looks good even with his struggles. So definitely, with that being said, the Rangers are number 1 on my February 2024 power rankings. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on these power rankings. There are things I need to work on, and I think that when I do my 2024 reviews, I'll be saying that a lot. I do have things I need to work on with these power rankings because I feel like there's way too much movement, even though it's a month. I know I do weekly on my TikTok and I do monthly on my YouTube, but I feel like there's way too much movement to justify some of these teams being moved around. I know there's going to be large movements for some teams every now and then, but seeing like over 5 teams here dropping more or rising more than 10 spots, it's just not something I want to have in my power rankings. So it is something I'm going to work on in the next couple of weeks and the next couple of months, and hopefully 2024-25 will be a better month for me, but we'll obviously find out. But regardless, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe down below. I really appreciate it. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.